Well, Chris Kenny's Wednesday Wrangle is always good value, so let's get to the Wranglers. Liz Storer, Lead Advisor for GT Communications in Sydney, and broadcaster Justin Smith in Melbourne. G'day there, team.
Hi, Chris.
Hello, both of you. Hello.
Good to have you on. It was rather curious to hear that a Sydney GPS school had vaccinated 160 of their boarders, their students, with Pfizer. A priority? No. A mistake, we're told, Liz. Lucky for them.
Seriously, I just can't believe the spin around this. A mistake? What did they do? Fall onto the needles? I mean, come off it. Obviously, like most of these things, we'll never know the true story, Chris, but I just found this incredibly hard to swallow. Of course, I'm not swallowing it, and I don't think anybody else is either. I think these departments need to understand that when they make up spin like this, they lose a lot of faith. Just admit what you did. We'd have a lot more, I don't know, you'd be a lot more believable if you just said, look, we screwed up, this is what happened, instead of like, oh no, it was an accident. I just, nah, it's just unbelievable.
They get very defensive in New South Wales when they think that they have to defend their own health department. Brad Hazzard was certainly very defensive today, Justin. They've stuffed up, they should realise that. It's no bad look on Joey's, like they've just made a request and 160 vials have turned up.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, isn't it? I agree with Liz completely on this one. And I liked Brad Hazzard when he said move on at the press conference today, move on. Yeah. A little tip for anybody and up-and-coming journalists, if a politician ever says move on, that's the time to dig in and really start asking some questions. Sadly, the whole vaccination process seems to be I'd say the faith in the whole system seems to be as low as it can possibly go. I mean, I've had one AstraZeneca jab and I'm not really that keen to get a second one. After, you know, it was supposed to be for anyone over 50. And then it was anyone over 60, and now they're looking at phasing it out completely. So, I'm starting to lose some faith in it. I'll probably wait for the Pfizer jab. In fact, I might try and join an elite school somewhere where they can jump the queue and I'll get my arm jabbed as soon as possible.
All right, what's your call, Liz Storer, on the extended lockdown? What's your call on the extended lockdown? Too far, too wide?
Oh, utterly ridiculous. I and millions of other people in New South Wales are utterly shocked by this call. Absolutely shocked by this call. The numbers have been consistent. But this is the thing, Chris. We now know, and we have miles of data on this collected from all over the world, lockdowns do more harm than good. Tragically, we saw 2 boys in Bondi take their lives last weekend. Lockdowns do more, $1 billion per week, just wiped off this out of the state's economy. Yeah. Lockdowns do more harm than good. We know this. I've got my hairdresser who's a single mum, works from home. She's like, what the heck am I supposed to do? I've got rent to pay. This affects people in ways that are just unimaginable. And Sydney's had more cases than this, and we didn't lock down. Yes. So what the heck is going on? Yep. And they say, oh, it's the Delta variant. Well, we also happen to know the Delta variant is 75% less deadly than the original. So again, tell us another furphy. What is going on? Oh, it's the health advice. Well, I wish they'd talk to economic experts as much as they talk to the health experts. And I wish they'd speak to mental health experts as much as they spoke to these other health experts, because we know Lifeline and Beyond Blue are screaming out saying this is beyond reasonable. We can't keep up with this anymore. People aren't doing okay. Period. It is unconscionable, it is lazy, it is negligent for any government 18 months into this thing to still be pressing the lockdown button. It's unforgivable.
Yeah, and Justin, they seem to not take into consideration we've jabbed most of the elderly here. The vulnerable are covered. And secondly, we've got 2.8, I think it is, million people have got at least one jab already. The risk is lower than what it was 12 months ago.
Oh, look, I don't know. This is so tough. I understand what Liz is saying and what
the Melbourne rhetoric.
Here comes your fireworks that you promised, Chris.
Syndrome.
hang on, back off you two. Just pull your heads in for a second. I would suggest here that with the problem with a lockdown is if you don't do it, I hate them. I'm not a fan of lockdowns at all. I hate them, despise them, and I've been through a pile, believe me. But if you don't lock down at the right time, the chances of this spreading and getting away is pretty high. I don't think you can be completely against lockdowns. I would suggest that you've got to do it quickly. You've got to do it in contained areas. You don't lock down an entire state. You try and do it as quickly as you can, minimise the damage, get the governments to pay.
This isn't Ebola. This isn't Ebola. According to ABS statistics, well over 4,000 people died in 2017 due to pneumonia and influenza. When are we going to start treating COVID like another one of those?
Okay.
We know that they're deadly if the wrong people get them.
You can't.
This moves
Yes,
in.
we can.
Look at the people that have lost their lives around the world.
Perfectly fine
come on.
if we get it. No, look at the numbers.
Okay, let me move on to
Vaccinate the vulnerable, let the rest of us get on with our lives.
Let me move on to a related topic. I find it absolutely outrageous that Dan Andrews is going to force, and of course they've said no, the Formula One Grand Prix community who are all vaccinated to do 2 weeks quarantine in November this year, talking about risk averse.
This is really early, isn't it, that they've made a call on this? I was sort of a bit staggered by it. I mean, I hated the fact that we were in massive lockdown and in big trouble, and yet we still went ahead with the Australian Open. I hated that, and I'll be the first to admit it. But with the Grand Prix, this is a long way out, before they have made this call. So I think they've jumped the gun on this. That's my initial feeling on it. Anyway,
Of
seems
course
odd.
they have.
Very odd.
Even if it were Dan Andrews last week, it was him who forced National Cabinet to adopt the fact that there'd be no lockdowns if we started to get people vaccinated. In November, they're a month away from everyone at least having a chance of getting vaccinated, and they want to quarantine people who have already vaccinated. I don't get it. Talk about backward.
Yeah, look, and it just shoots people's confidence in this thing even more. If you're telling us 4 months from now, that's a long time. We're going to do a lot in that time, but you're telling us 4 months from now, we still won't be ready for this. I recently wrote down, this has already been held this year. Formula One has been in Bahrain, Italy, Portugal, Spain, France, Monaco, Austria. It's going to be in Brazil before it was supposed to be in Australia. We're now becoming the laughing stock of the world. 4 months and we've turned down this brilliant opportunity and once again gutted 2 industries that have already been completely gutted by this, and that's our sporting and tourism. Well done, guys.
Yeah,
I mean, what an absolute shambles.
We need to harden up. I've run out of time, but Liz Storer, Justin Smith, great to have you on the program. Thank you.